It's that time again, wrestling fans. We welcome you to another installment of the World Wrestling Recap right here on WorldWrestlingRecap.com. I'm your host, Matt Rhodes, and very, very anxious to get started on today's program. As many of you know that are tuning in to listen, today's guest is none other than former NWA Smoky Mountain announcer, Bobby McLraft, who finds himself at the center of controversy over some comments he made about the King of Kingsport, Beau James, and his wife, Misty. And we'll be getting to Bobby in just a few minutes here today. Ladies and gentlemen, also want to remind you about sending your footage in to be posted on our website. That once again is worldwrestlingrecap.com. If you have footage you'd like to send in to us to be posted where fans and promoters can watch, our address is P.O. Box 2490, Kingsport, Tennessee 37662. And I'll be giving that information out again at the close of the program. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have Tony Gibbons along today on the program talking about Encore 2012 coming up this Saturday night at the Kingsport Civic Auditorium. NWA Smoky Mountain presents a great card of wrestling this Saturday in Kingsport. He'll be talking about his match with the exception Josh Crawford a little bit later on. Plus, we have a huge in-studio guest that I'm going to keep a secret for a little while, and we'll be revealing him a little bit later on. I want to say a big thanks to a good friend of mine up in Asheville, North Carolina, Cassidy Haynes, who runs CheapHeat.com, for putting us over on his website this past week. And I encourage you fans, if you want all the latest news from the world of professional wrestling, covering WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, Chikara, all the major wrestling promotions in the United States and across the world, check out CheapHeat.com. That's cheap-heat.com, and they have got a link on their website for the World Wrestling Recap. And big shout out to Cassidy Haynes for that. And we'll be talking more about cheapheat.com in the coming weeks here on this program. Once again, today's guest is none other than Bobby McLraft, and we'll have him on in just a few minutes. But right now, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, with NWA Smoky Mountain talent and promoter Tony the Dragon Gibbons as we talk about Encore 2012 this Saturday night at Kingsport. This is the World Wrestling Recap.
On our website at NWASmokyMountain.com. Also, check us out on Facebook. Looking for the hottest wrestling on the net? NWA Smoky Mountain is here for you. Get all the latest info on upcoming events, news, NWA merchandise, and much more on our website at NWASmokyMountain.com. Also, check us out on Facebook at Facebook.com/NWA Smoky Mountain. And also follow us on Twitter at Twitter.com/NWA Smoky MD. Nonprofit organizations, sports clubs, civic groups, schools, or anyone looking to raise funds for your organization. The stars of the National Wrestling Alliance are here to put money in your pocket. Bring us in for your next fundraiser and get the funds you need for your organization on the night of the event without wait.
For more information, you can email the office at NWASmokyMountain.com, or you can call the office at area code 423-773-5449.
We're back here on the World Wrestling Recap, and ladies and gentlemen, coming up this Saturday night, NWA Smoky Mountain is back at the Kingsport Civic Auditorium for its annual event, Encore 2012, headlined by two huge main event caliber matches. One will be a six-man tag that'll be pitting Chase Owens teaming up with his longtime friends, the Party Boys, to take on John Hawkins Promotions. That's the team of Jason Kincaid and Legit Dynamite. Also, one of the big matches on the card for that night will be a match 5 years in the making for Mountain Empire Wrestling fans. That'll be Tony the Dragon Gibbons versus Josh Crawford. And right now we're joined by one of the participants in that match, Tony the Dragon Gibbons.
How you doing, Matt?
Doing great. Big match this Saturday night against Josh Crawford. Let me get your thoughts.
Well, you know, this match has been 5 years in the making. 5 years ago, Josh come out there and he started wrestling in Rogersville, and I didn't respect him, and I think a lot of the reason was I didn't respect him for the same reason that the veterans, when I came out, didn't respect me. And it's a cycle, and it'll always be a cycle like that. I'm sure that the next guy's coming out that he won't respect, but just like I did, stuck in there and earned the respect of the people that I looked up to. He's done the same thing. He's earned the respect of the veterans, and because he's stuck in there. However, in the ring, there's very few people around here that are my equal, and everybody's throwing that out there these days. For how many years couldn't be touched. And yes, that's to you, Robbie Cassidy, who said recently that for 6 years he couldn't be touched.
Wow.
Well, Robbie, we're friends, but I'll argue that point.
Bold words from Tony the Dragon Gibbons as he faces off with Josh Crawford this Saturday night at the Kingsport Civic Auditorium. Let's not forget, also coming up on February the 18th, it's the Parade of Champions. Johnson City Carver Parks and Recreation Center, 8 p.m. bell time with Davey Richards, Kyle O'Reilly, and Tony Kazina from Ring of Honor on that card, plus the NWA World's Women's Champion, Natasha Simone, is also in action, and she'll defend her title against Misty James. That's the Parade of Champions next Saturday, February the 18th in Johnson City, and we'll also see the Southern States Wrestling 21st Anniversary Spectacular coming up on Saturday, February the 25th, Mount Carmel National Guard Armory, Mount Carmel, Tennessee. And the NWA Smoky Mountain back in Kingsport on March the 30th for the second annual Smoky Mountain Cup. Tony the Dragon Gibbons, thanks for joining us. Stick around for just a few minutes. We're back in a moment.
Nonprofit organizations, sports clubs, civic groups, schools, or anyone looking to raise funds for your organization. The stars of the National Wrestling Alliance are here to put money in your pocket. Bring us in for your next fundraiser and get the funds you need for your organization on the night of the event without wait.
For more information, you can email the office at office@nwasmokymountain.com, or you can call the office at area code 423-773-5449.
All right, welcome back to the World Wrestling Recap, and it is now time to get to our guest. We're getting him on the phone as we speak. I forgot an event to mention in our On Tour segment just a few minutes ago. The Pro Wrestling Federation will be in Elizabethton, Tennessee on Friday night, February the 17th. Elizabethton VFW, just right down the street from Grindstaff Ford on the left-hand side of the road coming from Johnson City. A great night of wrestling action presented by the stars of the PWF in Elizabethton coming up here on Friday night, February 17th. Let's not forget that. We got a huge month of wrestling coming up for the Mountain Empire in February, and March is looking even better. And are we close to getting Bobby on? Bobby's on. We've got Bobby McLraft on the line. Bobby, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, Matt Rhodes, long-time listener, first-time caller. I'm excited about tonight.
Bobby, thank you very much for listening. You listened since episode 1, and you've always had good things to say about us. And we do appreciate you listening. We appreciate you promoting our podcast as well. And I've known you for quite some time. As you know, you were a former NWA Smoky Mountain announcer. At the time, Championship Wrestling Alliance. We worked together for quite some time. And you know why you're here today, Bobby. But let me first ask you what you've been doing since your time away from NWA Smoky Mountain.
Since being away from the NWA, CWA, of course, started there, and Tony Gibbons gave me my start. After that, kind of a little bit of trouble when they were in the middle, but once I left the CWA and NWA, I went over to SOW out there with Mikey Duggar and the O-Dog. Those guys really took care of me. Lou Freeman, for example, and all the rest of the guys. They treated me like, I was part of the family, and had a good time out there. Since then, I've moved over to the coast of Virginia. Been working for a couple different places. Most notably is YourWrestlingShow.com. Those guys doing a great podcast. But I've worked for out here NWA Fusion. There's been VCW, which is out here, and SPW, and done a couple different events out here. Got to say though, home is definitely the NWA Smoky Mountain and the CWA. They gave me my start, and I still connected with them and always follow their product.
Well, it's good to hear that you've been doing well in your time away from the Mountain Empire, but Bobby, you know why you're on the program this week. You have went on record in the past, some controversial statements, if you will, about a certain individual, and that individual was last week's guest. That was professional wrestler, 24-year veteran, handsome Beau James. And I want to ask you the first question in relations to Beau. Why do you dislike him?
You know, Matt, honestly, being part of the CWA when I was, and being part of the NWA Smoky Mountain, you were raised to not like Beau James. The first ever show that I ever went to and ever worked was in Johnson City, and it was actually in your absence. They called me up and said, hey, Cody Isis called me and said, we need a ring announcer tonight. Matt Rhodes isn't available. So I went over there, and, I walked up there and walked up the stairs to the locker room, and, Funky was there, Ricky Morton, and I've met Ricky, a couple times beforehand, so very cordial to me. Beau James was sitting next to him, and Beau didn't shake my hand. I reached out, shook my hand, tried to shake his hand. He didn't shake my hand. So I was like, okay. I was like, who is this guy, that, he doesn't want to even shake my hand, which was fine. Went in there, went in the locker room, shook everybody's hands, and, it was cool. And that was the last time I saw Beau James for quite a while. After that, I had heard, Beau James this, Beau James that from the CWA locker room, because, at that point in time, it was CWA and SSW were direct competitors, and nobody really liked Beau James or the SSW. And I kind of got that built up inside me. And when when NWA took over and Beau James became part of the NWA Smoky Mountain, I felt like an outsider looking in. I didn't understand why, after they created this monster, why we were being with him, why we partnered up with him. Because when I was with when I was doing Rocky Top Wrestling with Cody Isis, I had mentioned bringing in Beau James, and I was shut down, not from Cody himself, but from other people, that Beau wouldn't draw. So I didn't understand why we were teaming up with Beau James. And talking to Beau and trying to become friends with him and stuff, and I'd worked with him for with NWA All Stars out there with Stan Lee. I just didn't understand it. I just didn't get why we were bringing this guy in, and it started from there. And when WWE produced some pay-per-views like WrestleMania and stuff like that, Beau started downing our guys. He started downing all the guys that went to the show. He started downing the guys that went to the show on pay-per-view. He started downing the guys that went to Buffalo Wild Wings to watch the pay-per-view. But yet, he was part of the guys that went there. And that, to me, I just didn't know why we invited somebody that the CWA, the NWA, Smoky Mountain was a tight family in the locker room. I think we would all do anything for each other. And Beau, to me, just seemed like a cancer that was kicking us all for no reason whatsoever. And for some reason, I became the voice against him. And that's where my heat began with Beau James.
Well, you no doubt you were very vocal about, some things you said about Beau and towards Beau, whether it be via the internet or, at the live events. But Beau made an interesting comment last week, and I'm not trying to, get on your bad side, Bobby, but this is a part of, journalism here, and I'm going to ask this question. Beau said, and I quote, that you contacted him about joining Southern States Wrestling. As a manager, as an announcer, if this is true, why did you try to join Southern States Wrestling?
When that happened, that was a dark time, I think, in CWA and NWA. We were running shows maybe every other month, and I know, you, Matt, were upset about it, and most of the guys were upset. I remember one time in December, we had a show in Johnson City, and we were like, is this a reunion show? Because we haven't seen each other in like 2 or 3 months. Yeah, do you remember that?
I remember the times, and the thing about the business is, it's up and down. Sometimes, we run sporadically, and sometimes we ran, 3 or 4 times a month. It depends on how good the business is. But I do recall it, and but that's the kind of dancing around the question.
Right.
Did you contact Beau James about joining Southern States Wrestling during that time?
Beau and I talked a lot on Facebook. Beau and I actually are very similar in our backgrounds. We're about the same age. Of course, he's got a lot more pro wrestling experience than I do. I've been watching since I was, probably the same age as Beau. And, I haven't been as active as, obviously he has. But yeah, I was like, Beau, what do you think about, I'll come in and, work some shows. Because at that point in time, we weren't getting a lot of bookings from CWA. So yeah, I was excited about working for anybody because this was brand new to me, and I really wanted to venture out and, show people what I could do. So yes, I did reach out to Beau. I also reached out to the PWF. The only people I didn't reach out to was SOW, who ironically is who I ended up working for before I left Tennessee.
Did you, when you emailed Beau James, this is what he's went on record saying, that is it true that you buried the CWA product when you talked to Beau?
No, when I talked to Beau, what I said was, the CWA is not running on a regular basis. I see that SSW is.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to work on a regular basis. And Beau said, I don't have room for you now. Do you have ideas? I said, yes, of course I have ideas. Because
complete lie. Never did I ever ask you for any idea. You do not have a background for me to ever go to you to look for ideas. You continuously emailed me with ideas of your own to come in and continuously buried Matt Rhodes, Tony Givens, the entire dressing room, saying they won't let me run Rocky Top Wrestling the way that I want to, but they won't let me do this, they won't let me do that. So you thought you were going to weasel your way in because you thought I was some dumb old wrestler. Now that is lie number 4 that you've told since you've been sitting here. You can go to GeorgiaWrestlingHistory.com, find my interview about WrestleMania last year. The only people that I knocked were the people that bought tickets, because once you buy a ticket, you should remain buying a ticket.
okay.
There's comments from Beau James, who's in the studio, was supposed to come on here a little bit later. I guess he had something he wanted to input there. Bobby, your response. Let's try to keep this civil.
Yeah, definitely. One, I never buried Matt Rhodes.
Yes, you did. You said it was never. You said they were never organized. You said the television was just put together 5 minutes before you taped it. I've got all the emails and all the instant messages, and I forwarded a bunch of them to Matt Rhodes today. I keep everything.
No, Beau.
No. You're getting a chance here. Tell the truth.
I'm trying to, but you keep interrupting me.
Let's hear Bobby tell his side. It's going to be fair about this. Go ahead, Bobby.
Thank you. When we were disorganized was the only time that you were part of our event, and that was in Elizabethton. So you came in, and we had people coming in from outside causing disruptions, and you were like, well, who's in charge of the building? Obviously, you were in charge of the building at that point in time because Tony was not, he was there, but he wasn't really in charge.
I wasn't in charge of anything other than putting a match together with 7 guys sitting there and 6 fans. I said, is the building rented in your name? See, you're jumping ahead a year. Now go back, because you continuously email me, and then you really started emailing me when I brought Jerry Lawler in because you wanted to get in. You kept wanting to get in for free. You even offered me Applebee coupons to get in.
Yeah, because I know if there's food involved, you're going to jump right in there.
Well, I surely didn't because you weren't in the event.
I did go to the event,
Wow.
but I didn't.
You were not at the event. You were not at the event at the Armory because I wouldn't let you in. You started throwing a fit. You said a wise man once said, "The boys don't pay to get in." I said, "You're not one of the boys."
Bobby, your argument to that.
I think now you're skipping ahead about a year.
No, that was in September. You started in the first time I met you was the first time we had Lawler here, and yes, you did come. But then the next time we brought him back, you wanted to get in free. But in between that, you emailed me, tell me how much you liked the TV and how much you liked this and that, which turned out to be a lie that you never watched it, because when you ring announced Frank Parker and James McCone at the Civic Auditorium, you didn't know how to pronounce James McCone's name.
That's right, because I didn't want your product. I didn't like
right,
it.
So why did you lie to me? See, that you just admitted you lied.
I did lie to you about watching SSW.
Yeah, so if you're admitting you lied to that, then why should anybody believe that you're not lying about everything else that you've been proven lied about? Matt has all the emails. I sent them to him this morning.
And what else have you proved I lied about?
What I just said. You continuously knocked them trying to get me to book you. You had all these outlandish ideas for you to come in, and you just lied and said that I asked you for ideas. Why would I ask somebody for an idea who's never made a dollar in the wrestling profession when I do it for a living?
Because you fed me that whole thing about, Beau, you said, what kind of idea do you have that I could bring you in?
No, I said, why would I bring you in? Because you have nothing to offer me. You took that as, here's my ideas.
No, you're wrong. And this was an instant message. This wasn't even a email.
I know that's instant messages, but I keep everything.
Right, and you
because I'll tell you why I keep everything.
You could bring and other people.
I never asked for other people. I've had the same crew pretty much for the last 3 years.
I did, because Beau, I will say right now, you're one of the smartest guys around, because what you have done is you've taken your product, which back in the day totally sucked, and I think we even called it, what was it, citizen wrestling or old citizen wrestling or something.
Wait a minute, that was 3 years ago. That wasn't back in the day. I've been promoting towns for 24 years. I've been promoting under Southern States Wrestling for 21 years. And yes, it was 3 years ago. I was the first one to admit it. That's why you don't see Jamie Gibson, Jeff Storm, Rebecca Lynn. But I had to have warm bodies in the building until I could build my crew. And we did, and we drew.
Right, and I admit, again, and I've talked to other people, you're very smart because you've reached out. You're kind of like an insect. You kind of just gone out there and, you've invaded NWA, Smoky Mountain. You've invaded PWF. You've even invaded SOW to a point to where your product has gotten all those guys that have top talent, because all three of those guys have great talent, not knocking.
Okay, hold on. Is Tony Givens still in the building? Yes. Come here. Here's Tony Givens. Tony Givens, did you contact me about coming back, or did I contact you about coming back?
I contacted you because I felt that after the fact that I started with SSW that I needed to apologize for the things that I had said and done. I've done a lot of bad things, and talking about you was one of them, so I did contact you. That is a fact.
But you say it to my face, and we still argued. Now, Dylan Sizemore, come here. Dylan Sizemore, PWF. Did Josh Crawford call me, or did I call him about coming back?
As far as I know, Josh called you.
Exactly. So don't go out there spreading these lies and rumors that I invaded anywhere. I was called and welcomed back with open arms.
Your response.
I didn't know that.
That's right, because you talk about everything you don't know anything about.
No, because Beau, when I was with Rocky Top Wrestling, I wanted to bring you in. And what I was told was, why do you want to bring Beau James in? Because he doesn't draw. And we were going to bring you in for the Rocky Top Rumble, which was, basically a battle royal. And then I was told, you know what? If you bring Beau in for that, he's got to win. Why? Because Beau James can't go over the top rope.
Which, once again, is a lie, because I've been over top rope many times, but I'm not going to do it. I would have never went. Listen,
my lie. That's what I was told.
Well, you can be told whatever, but see, here's the thing: why, instead of spending time trying to get me to let you in and give you some kind of control of something, why didn't you just come to me with these questions and these rumors just yourself?
Oh, I would have been happy to. And every time I try to come to you, you spin it off on one of these internet things, whether it's Facebook or whatever, and you turn it around.
When have I ever mentioned you on anything? until last week on this program because we had an agreement. We will agree to disagree, and we'll go about our lives. And I continuously do that because you.
I thought we had a great plan with that because you and I talked constantly on the internet when I was happy with NWA, when I was happy with CWA.
And I will talk to anybody as long as they show they got some sense. But you get your feelings hurt and you get your panties in a wad, and then you just got to go on and on and on and on and on. Just like now, you're still bringing stuff up from years ago. And it's not about anybody other than us. The plain, simple fact, truth is this right here. You asked me simply one question. Could I get you booked on the weekends? And I told you no, and I told you why I would not do it. And you got all upset. You got your feelings hurt. You then emailed Michael Sutherland, trying to stir him up, me and him to have some kind of hard feelings, which Michael would be the first one to agree with what I said. And Michael's been my friend since 1994. You emailed Jim Cornette, which Tony Givens has the emails right here, that's your AOL email address, not knowing or not thinking that I have known Cornette and his wife Stacy for many years. And as soon as you sent the email, they sent them to me. And I put Tony in contact with Cornette, and all that was taken care of. Your feelings got hurt, so you went on this big tirade of I hate Beau James, and you continuously do it.
The Cornette thing is what Tony and I have agreed not to talk about, and I won't go into it.
Oh, no, I'm talking about it because you want to talk about everything else, and my name was in it. It was sent to me before it was sent to Tony. Plain and simple, it's your email address that sent the emails.
Well, Beau, you know,
and I'm gonna tell you another point. The only reason, the main reason we knew that it was you.
Why are you going to interrupt me? You
because I'm not finished. I'm not finished. You have a hard name, last name that is hard to pronounce and hard to spell, and it was spelled correctly in the email. And I have, in 24 years being involved in professional wrestling, have never seen an email exchange with anybody putting over a ring announcer.
Your response, Bobby. Go ahead.
My response to that is that email is not from me. I've said that from day one, that email is not from me. I have no idea who sent the email. I have no idea how they did it. I have looked it up on Google. I've seen that you can send emails from other people's address, but I did not send that email. I do believe in professional pride. Tony Givens is the one that got me started in this business, and I would never have done that to Tony Givens. Yes, I was pissed off about Tony Givens. I was pissed off about the NWA, but I would not have done that to him. It would have been a private matter between him and I. I would have never sent that thing out. Plus, I'm smart enough to know that Jim Cornette does not own the Smoky Mountain name, that the Smoky Mountain name is owned by WWE. So if you're going to email somebody, it would not be James E. Cornette. It would have been Vince McMahon.
Well,
it comes to copyright infringement.
For the listeners at home, the email that's being talked about, allegedly, I'm not going to say here and accuse you, Bobby, because it's not fair for me to do that. I'm impartial. So the email was sent to Mr. Cornette, pretty much saying that the NWA Smoky Mountain was stealing a copywritten name, and talking bad about some of the talent, and putting over a few of the good talent, and your name was mentioned. Now, that's not me saying I think you sent it. That's just explaining to the listeners what was sent. Now,
which I think is totally ridiculous because, I've been read the email. I know Punky was put over. I know Chase was put over.
Yes.
I know I was put over.
Yes.
That just it doesn't fit. Why would anybody, like Beau said, I totally agree. Why would anybody put over the ring announcer and a NWA legend and an upper-cover like Chase Owens? It doesn't make sense. Why anybody would put me over unless they were trying to bury me?
Well, to make it clear to the listeners listening in, NWA Smoky Mountain is not stealing the copywritten name of Smoky Mountain Wrestling that is copyrighted and owned by World Wrestling Entertainment. The NWA Smoky Mountain does not have wrestling attached to its name. For anybody out there listening that is thinking about sending Vince McMahon an email, don't waste your time.
No. In 1989 and 90, Al Bass ran a promotion here called Superior Championship Wrestling, and his championship was the Smoky Mountain Champion, and his tag team was the Smoky Mountain Tag Champions. Now, how did you read the email?
A friend of mine sent it to me, which I'm sure you guys can put together the clues because who my friend was, but they sent it to me after Tony had sent it to them. Or they read it to actually, maybe they read it to me.
So, I mean, and just to make it perfectly clear to listeners that are listening, you have always said that you did not write this email, and you've denied this from day one, just to make that clear with listeners. Everybody has their opinion. You have yours, and you're entitled to that opinion, Bobby. And, of course, our guys are entitled to theirs. Go ahead.
I'll say, yeah, exactly. And if I read the email and at that point in time, I would definitely think that, yes, this guy's disgruntled. This guy hates his company. He wants to bring us all down. But I don't understand, my thing is I do have a certain loyalty that I would never have done that kind of thing. And that's what kills me, because I had a lot of friendships, with you, Matt, of course, you and I used to hang out, not only in wrestling, but, on the weekends and stuff. And that, it just it was like a big knife. It was a big knife. And I don't know who did it. I had 2 computers get hacked and are down now.
Mm-hmm.
So buying myself a new computer after all that happened. So, again, I'm not sure how all that happened, but I didn't do it. And I will confess, on my daughter, and everybody knows me, knows how important my daughter is to me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do it. I did not do that.
Okay, well, Bobby, hang on just a second. We're going to take a quick 1-minute break, and we'll get back to you. This is the World Wrestling Recap, and you're listening to Matt Rhodes. Our guest today is Bobby McLraft. Our in-studio guest is none other than handsome Beau James. We're back in just a moment with more of the World Wrestling Recap right here on WorldWrestlingRecap.com.
Looking for the hottest wrestling on the net? NWA Smoky Mountain is here for you. Get all the latest info on upcoming events, news, NWA merchandise, and much more on our website at NWASmokyMountain.com. Also, check us out on Facebook at Facebook.com/NWA Smoky Mountain. And also follow us on Twitter at Twitter.com/NWA Smoky MDN. Nonprofit organizations, sports clubs, civic groups, schools, or anyone looking to raise funds for your organization. The stars of the National Wrestling Alliance are here to put money in your pocket. Bring us in for your next fundraiser and get the funds you need for your organization on the night of the event without wait.
For more information, you can email the office at office@nwasmokymountain.com, or you can call the office at area code 423-773-5449.
All right, we're back here on the World Wrestling Recap. I'm Matt Rhodes, the host of the program, joined by telephone by former NWA Smoky Mountain announcer and former Rocky Top Wrestling promoter, Bobby McLraft. And now in studio, we're joined by 24-year veteran of professional wrestling, handsome Beau James. Bobby, you still with us?
Oh, yeah.
All right, thank you for staying on the line. Thank you for your patience. We touched on a lot of subjects. We've heard, what you said publicly, what's been said behind closed doors. But one topic I want to get to, and I'm going to ask you first, Bobby, for your side before we go to Beau. As one of the comments touched on last week was comments made about Beau's wife, Misty. I don't know exactly to the letter what was said or what was going on. So, Bobby, I'm asking you first. We heard Beau last week and what he said. This is your response. This is your time. Beau's not interrupting you right now. So, this is your time to speak, Bobby.
Okay. Actually, this is what I was going to open with tonight was before Beau interrupted me was I was going to offer that public apology that Beau asked for last week because I've got a daughter and I understand, the bonds of, love and family and stuff like that. I would publicly apologize to Misty James for saying what I said. It was something about man hands, and I don't remember the rest of it. It's been a while now. I played into an angle, and I was trying to help a friend out. I'm a big supporter of Ashley Hope, and I was trying to help her out in her feud with Misty. But I apologize. I had no money to make in that feud, and I had no right to make comments in a negative way about Misty. I've worked with Misty a couple times in NWA, Smoky Mountain, and All-Star, and I think she's a great athlete, and I think she does a great job in that ring. She makes the fans care, and they really care about what she does in that ring, and I support everything she does. But again, I was just trying to support Ashley, and I apologize publicly to Misty about the comments I made.
So your response is that you were playing into an angle that was going on at that time between Misty and Ashley on television, where they were working a program with each other. So that's where the comments lied from. Is that correct, Bobby?
Yes, that's 100% correct. Me and Ashley talk, via Twitter or text, and I apologize that I made those comments public without Misty's knowledge beforehand.
Okay. Beau, your response.
Well, the response was there was no angle. He responded to a picture that was posted, and it was something about man hands, her being a beast, looking like a man, having a body like a man, a lot of other stuff. Now, were you in the building when Misty punched Ashley?
No, Beau, I was not in the building.
No, you were not in the building. And nor do you know what was going on. You just took it upon yourself to take a pot shot at somebody because they were associated with me.
No, Beau, it was not about you at all.
Yes, it was. Your feelings?
The world does not revolve around you.
No, I know it doesn't. It revolves around a man named Jesus Christ.
Okay, well, that's your opinion, but this was an angle, and I took a shot as part of the angle.
Well, it was not an angle what was going on. You were not there. You don't know. You had nothing to do with it.
This was not a personal attack.
There was probably 30 other wrestlers in the dressing room that can tell you that it was very real. It was very brutal. Dylan Sizemore's still here. He called the match. It's been shown on TV. They got out of control. Ashley got unprofessional. Misty put her back in her line.
Okay, well, I'm a big fan of Ashley's.
All right, then you took a shot. Then if you're saying you're supported, that's fine. You're a fan of it, that's fine. But you were not educated on the fact that you kept going on about. And when I sent you an email,
it was a one-time comment that I put out there, and the PWF so chose to take it off, which was fine.
You didn't put it on the PWF website. You put it on a guy named Morgan Gibson, who's been coming to the wrestling matches for years and years and years, and he posted the picture, and you commented on that picture.
Okay.
All right, Bobby. Kind of a change of subject. Let's go back to what you were talking about earlier. You made the comment that Beau criticized wrestlers and people involved in the professional wrestling scene in the Mountain Empire for going to WrestleMania. Why did you have a problem?
Before you ask him, I want to ask him this. Why did you get so upset about that when you were the first one to throw out the boys don't buy tickets? That's what you're getting hot about. You got hot because I spoke out about supposed professional wrestlers buying tickets. And that's what started... And that's what you got hot about because I wouldn't let you in the Lawler show the second time that he was here for free.
What I got hot about, all right, we'll talk. Let's separate those. We'll talk about the Lawler show first. Lawler show first is we're all in the independent wrestling business.
I'm in the professional wrestling business. I do it for a profession.
Okay, well, congratulations. We all are, part of pretty much a family now of professional wrestlers. We all want to take care of each other. And, yeah, I didn't understand why you didn't want to invite me over to that show for free. I didn't get that. I've been to other shows for free, and it wasn't a big deal. I still go to shows for free in Virginia, and they've never seen me, work a couple of places. I didn't understand that. Now, you and I have talked on Facebook, I think it was, when you said I'd be willing to pay a ticket for TNA or WWE and not SSW, and I will stand by the fact that those two entertained me, and your show didn't at that point. Now that you've got NWA and PWF talent, yeah, I'm more entertained. So I'd probably go to one of your shows. I won't even pay a ticket.
I wouldn't let you in even if you attempted to buy a ticket. I'll reserve the right to refuse business. Now, you're getting upset about it, but
I'm not.
You were. You threw a fit about it. But it's the same principle. It's the exact same principle. I never denied that I went to Buffalo Wild Wings. I watched it in opening night baseball because I was encouraged by friends. Check it out. Look at it. I want the wrestling profession to do good. I want it to be like it was when it was hot. Because when Monday Night Wars were going on, these towns around here were doing big business because people were interested in it. But you know why you can't get interested in it now? Because if you go to your local, when TNA comes here, or WWE, everybody that you go see at the other venues the rest of the year are sitting ringside. And they show the people there's nothing special about them. If you can go and get in the dressing room and be in the back, that's fine. But if you got to buy a ticket to get in, then once you buy a ticket, you should just keep buying tickets everywhere.
Your response, Bobby?
All right. I believe Beau to a point.
Okay.
I've been to maybe 3 WWE shows in Johnson City, and Ricky Morton's there, and he's not bought a ticket. Ricky's sitting in, basically VIP section, right there on the aisle. But at the same time, guys like, I'm not gonna start mentioning names, but other guys here that work independent. You go to the show, you go to the event to learn and to watch and to study. And I've got a buddy that plays for the Minnesota Vikings. He's the highest paid offensive lineman in the NFL. And he still buys tickets. He goes and buys tickets to other football events. And he watches and he studies. And I don't see that there's an issue with people going to other events and watching and studying. And I don't understand Beau's philosophy on that.
It's not my philosophy. It's the philosophy in the ways that were taught to me when I broke into almost 2.5 decades ago. And it's just one of the many things that has been lost in our profession.
Go ahead, Bobby.
I have worked with Punky. I've worked with Barbarian. I have worked with Al Snow. I have worked with Jimmy Valiant. I've worked with all of the guys.
You have ring announced them. I have been in a ring wrestling for 24 years. There's a big difference when you say you work with them than when you just say in this corner and in that corner.
Okay. So besides me going out there and announcing their names, announcing where they're from, I also talk to them in the back. And I think between the conversations you and I have had, you understand I like to ask questions. I think you even said it last week.
Yeah, and here's another point. Bobby was never mentioned, or ring announcers really don't matter. They don't, because you can get anybody to do that. I never talked about any ring announcer that was sitting there. You're the one that jumped on the, I hate this guy, let's everybody band together and get him, because I was talking about professional wrestlers, the ones that call themselves the professional wrestlers. And you do learn by going to towns and asking questions and working with people in the ring that can teach you how to do stuff. But you also jump the gun every time somebody who has been doing this for years and years and years says something that you disagree with. Now, here's the difference. I've known Ricky Morton since I was 14 years old. I've known the Barbarian since I was 16. I knew Al Snow when he was one of the Kangaroos. You was talking about him. You probably never even knew he was one of the Fabulous Kangaroos, did you?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, you did. Okay, I knew him since then. I was taught by the same people by them, and a lot of people like them. Now, the only difference between them and me is they made a lot more money because they came before I did. I was born 20 years too late. Now, They are the same philosophies, the same things that were taught to them were passed to me. But because I say it and I hurt your feelings, you get mad about it.
So, you got to understand this. You never hurt my feelings. You said I'm not a good ring announcer, and I can understand that from your perspective. I still get booked from other organizations other than yours. When it comes to the ring announcer, it doesn't matter. I think Michael Buffer would probably disagree. When it comes to
wait a minute,
WWE
they
guys,
paid Michael Buffer millions of dollars to ring announce in WCW, and he didn't add 1% rate of anybody buying a ticket or coming to see him or buying the pay-per-view just because Michael Buffer was going to say, let's get ready to rumble.
and I'm not talking about Michael Buffer just for WCW. I'm talking about Michael Buffer for boxing.
Same thing.
Okay.
Same thing. He ring announced the main events. They came to see the main event, not the guy who was saying who they were, because they already knew who the fighters were because they bought a ticket to see those two fighters, not Michael Buffer or any other ring announcer.
So why did WWE ever pay any extra money for those extra ring announcers at WrestleMania? Or
because they were celebrities. They weren't ring announcers. They were celebrities. They hired celebrities. The people will pay to see a celebrity. Why do you think they hired them? Because they needed something extra to draw.
here's the thing, though. Beau, it's not about just that. It's about the entire show, is my opinion on that. Like Howard Finkel, for example.
Howard Finkel was great, but nobody ever bought a ticket to see Howard Finkel.
Do you think they buy tickets to see you?
Well, let's see. I hold the record attendance for the King Sports Civic Auditorium in the modern era. Me and Jimmy Golden, loser leave town. Me and KC against the Batten Twins holds the all-time record for the old King Sport National Guard Armory. And I'm not saying that bragging. I'm just stating facts. So what's the common denominator there? I was in both of those matches.
And more than likely, it's part of the Beau. It's all part of the show, and I don't think you appreciate the rest of the event as much as the wrestlers. Yeah, I totally agree. You know what? They're there to see the wrestlers, but you know what? If it wasn't for the Matt Rhodes, if it wasn't for the Heath Sneeds, if it wasn't for the Bobby McLraft, if it wasn't for the guys...
Matt Rhodes is not a ring announcer. Matt Rhodes is a television producer, television host. He does more than just ring announce. He does everything out front that needs to be done. He is the total production, audio, lights. He does it all. He adds more than just his ring announcing. And he's sitting right here. Do you think if it was just ring announcing that you would be used as much?
Probably not.
Matt Rhodes used to just ring announce, and that's where he developed. And I did more than just ring announce. I also commentated for NWA Smoke Mountain, also CWA, also up here for SPW. There's more to it, though. Like, it's, again, I'm not trying to personally attack you.
Well, you've spent a lot of time personally attacking me. But no, it is all about the product. From the opening match to the last match, they all need to be good. And they're not always good.
The referees and announcers and everybody else are involved. Like, I don't agree with up here in Virginia because they want me to announce the referees every single time, which I don't understand why I got to tell what the referee's name is. But, again, like Jim Cornette with ROH, they announced the time of the end of the match. This match ended at 15 minutes to 45 seconds.
That's a time-honored tradition. That's the way it used to always be.
Right, and I agree with that stuff, though. You and I agree on a lot of stuff. But for some reason, we've got this big barrier in between us.
No, I don't. No, okay, listen to me, Bobby. I don't have a barrier. The barrier is we agreed to disagree, and you continuously publicly attack me over and over and over. And as I told Matt Rose, last week right here on this program, the only time that you even enter my mind is when somebody copies and pastes whatever you say on Twitter or on Facebook or whatever and sends it to me, or when somebody brings you up to me. Because I'm very busy. I got so many projects going on and a lot of stuff happening, and I don't worry about all this petty stuff. The only thing that got my attention was when you attacked my wife, and I think you did an apology here, but you need to go on Facebook and do one. because that's where you attacked her. You need to send her an email and tell her you're sorry.
No, I sent that email. The moment I sent that out, did I not send you and Misty the same email that said I did this as a work?
But it wasn't a work. That's what you're missing.
Listen, so I promise you, I am not smart enough to come up with those comments. I took those comments from somebody else that had talked about your wife, talked about you, and I put those on Facebook. And again, I apologize publicly because I think Misty is a hell of a worker. I think she goes out there and gives it 110% every time she's out there.
She probably gives it
Really
more than
do.
that. And she's
Really
come
do. I think
a long way.
phenomenal. And I've seen Misty work mainly for Stan Lee when I'm up there ring announcing for him. Misty is phenomenal out there, and I appreciate your wife out there because she works her ass off. And I want that to be known. I said those comments, like I told you, as part of a work because I was supporting a friend of mine.
Well, there's the comments made by Bobby McLraft. We are starting to run short on time. Bobby, I'm going to give you a few seconds. Anything you want to say, get off your chest. Anything you want to say, the time is yours for the next few minutes. Go ahead.
I just want to tell you, East Tennessee, you guys have the best wrestling in the country. I've been to Virginia right now, and it's been to Florida. You guys really do. Chase Owens, Jason Kincaid, Lou Freeman down there. He's the best heat seeker you'll ever get in SOW.
Wait a minute. Who is Lou Freeman? Now, I'll stop you there. I'm not trying to be a smart aleck, but who's Lou Freeman?
Lou Freeman is a hell of a manager over there in SOW.
Okay. All right, I just had to ask because I've never heard of the guy. He attacked. I heard somebody by that name attack Joe Wheeler one time on Facebook, but I don't think he ever done anything in this business to amount to anything. But go ahead. Sorry to cut you off.
No problem. I've seen him over there, man. He comes out like his black bat, and he just has whoever he's after that night. Their faces on that bat, and Lou, hits them up. SOW, those guys are phenomenal. After I left NWA Smoky Mountain, it was, a whole new crew, and I'd always been warned about Mikey Duggar's crew, but when I went over there, man, it was like a family. I guess I was never experienced the Paul Heyman experience, but the whole family atmosphere. Those guys took me in, and they really, made me part of their own. And I got to thank Chase Owens for that. But yeah, Chase and Sigmund and all those guys, just really, brought me along. Same thing with Easy Money, Stanley. Again, I appreciate all those guys that have taught me and have taken time to tell me stuff. Matt Rhodes, even Heath. I think we all just learn from each other, and I appreciate everything. Appreciate the education, and I'll even say I appreciate the education from Beau James. Whether I like it or not, it's something I can learn from. So, thanks again, Tony Givens, for giving my start, and Cody Isis, and all the rest of the guys. I appreciate you having me on my show, or on the show tonight, Matt, and wish you well, and I hope a lot of people listen and learn more about pro wrestling, because Matt Rhodes is the way to go.
Bobby, I appreciate the kind words. I'm surprised it took you 52 minutes to slip Easy Money's name in there, because usually he's the first guy you were putting over on television each and every week, and the guy never worked their television. So, Bobby, I want to say thank you for your patience, for calling in. I know it was back and forth, but it definitely made for some interesting conversation. But, we kept it civil. Thank you very much for your cooperation, Bobby, and I guess we'll disconnect here. Bobby McLraft, ladies and gentlemen, our guest today here on the program. We still got Beau in studio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a second.
For the hottest wrestling on the net, NWA Smoky Mountain is here for you. Get all the latest info on upcoming events, news, NWA merchandise, and much more on our website at NWASmokyMountain.com. Also, check us out on Facebook at Facebook.com/NWA Smoky Mountain. And also follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/NWA Smoky MD.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you back to the World Wrestling Recap, and let's run down some dates coming up here for the Mountain Empire once again real quick. March the 30th, NWA Smoky Mountain back in Kingsport, the Civic Auditorium, second annual Smoky Mountain Cup. On Saturday night, February the 25th, Southern States Wrestling's 21st Anniversary Spectacular. Huge night of wrestling action coming up on Saturday night, February the 25th. On February the 18th, Saturday night of wrestling, the Parade of Champions coming to Johnson City's Carver Parks and Rec, 8 p.m. bell time. For Davey Richards, Kyle O'Reilly, and Tony Kazina, the face-off with Chase Owens, Sigmund, and Menace. And coming up this Saturday night, Kingsport Civic Auditorium, 8 p.m. bell time. Wrestling fans, it's Encore 2012. And we're still joined by handsome Beau James, and he is going to be at a huge event this weekend as well.
Yeah, Villa Rica, Georgia, at the middle school. Anybody that's in southeast Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, it's the Ted Allen Memorial second year. Ted was a great guy, a friend of mine for 20-plus years. He passed away 2 years ago. All the money raised that night goes to the Gulf Coast Wrestlers Reunion, Ted Allen Sunshine Fund. It goes to help retired wrestlers. They have medical bills. Even some that pass on, they've helped people, with their funeral bills and stuff. It really goes to help all of our heroes. It's a great cause. It's to honor a great man. Saturday night, 8 o'clock, Villa Rica, Georgia, and I hope to see a lot of people there. And also, buy the book, kingofkingsport.com, Do You Want to Be a Wrestler Kid?
Tell you what, if you're in that area this Saturday night down in Georgia, go out and see Beau James. A great night of wrestling action. We have great wrestling going on across the great country. Whatever area you're in, find the best pro wrestling you can find, because there's a lot of junk out there.
Yeah, don't support local wrestling. Support good wrestling.
Support professional wrestling all across the country, not backyard wrestling. And I tell you what, it's been a great day here on the program. A very interesting conversation. I'm sure we're going to hear some feedback for a long time on this episode between Bobby McLraft and Beau James. Coming up, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a couple of big weeks in store for the World Wrestling Recap. Next week's guest, ladies and gentlemen, will be High Risk Robbie Cassidy, former Best of the Best tournament winner, former World Heavyweight Champion. Robbie Cassidy, Tony the Dragon Gibbons' best friend, will be here next week here on this program. And the week after that, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special treat lined up for our February 27th edition. We talked about it a little bit on our Facebook page, kind of hinting toward who was going to be here. A Memphis wrestling legend and a professional wrestling legend. But I'll tell you what, he made a lot of memories down in Memphis. That is none other than the superstar Bill Dundee, by far the biggest guest we've had on this program so far, and that's coming up for the Monday, February 27th edition of the World Wrestling Recap, ladies and gentlemen. And don't forget to send your footage in to our P.O. Box here in Kingsport, Tennessee. That's 2490. Please address your packages in care of the World Wrestling Recap. Once again, P.O. Box 2490, Kingsport, Tennessee, 37662. Or you can email me at matt@worldwrestlingrecap.com. Don't forget to visit my good friends at cheapheat.com for all the latest news in professional wrestling for the WWE, the TNA, the Ring of Honor. They cover it all at cheapheat.com. Beau James, thanks for being along on the program today.
Thank you.
And it has been a newsworthy addition to B&D. It's been a news. I'm so tired right now, I can barely hold my head up. It's been a long day. But thanks for listening. I'm Matt Rhodes. See you.